Hello everyone! Welcome to another video. Let's keep this intro short. Today's video is about pro shipping, again! Someone named Weasel Rodent made a video responding to my recent video on pro shipping, and it fucking sucked. Like, me and my brother were raving about it for an hour. This video is bad, like actively missing the point and ignoring things I say in my own video kind of bad. The fact that these points were so unbelievably bad, yet the person who made this video decided to post the video anyway, and I guess think it's a good video, it just made me really mad, so that will reflect in the script and in my tone, but I do just want to remind everyone that I do not condone any kind of targeted harassment towards any of the people I talk about, even if I do speak harshly towards them. Well, without further ado, let's actually get into the video and see what makes this video so bad.
Oh hey, a new Mushroom Girl video. Oh.
Yes, this mumbly speaking continues on for the entire video. I can barely fucking hear you. Speak up. Also, this is definitely a nitpick and not actually important to the video at hand, but why does your Sona change colors randomly? I'm kind of confused about that.
Oh, okay, maybe that's just clickbait. Surely the video isn't defending pro shipping, right?
God forbid MG believe in the freedom of artistic expression. It must be clickbait. This isn't the MG, I know. Also, I just want to say, since Vincent, which is this person's name by the way, says at the end of the video that he used to be a fan of mine, and a lot of others have also said this in response to the video on pro shipping that I recently posted, which is the video that Vincent is covering, I'm a tad confused on how people weren't expecting this from me. I've always been for the freedom of artistic expression from day one. I was the bitch putting cutesy self-harm and cutesy gore put in a romantic context in my art and animation memes and defending it with my life, and I made a whole video, 2 whole videos actually, on how the romanticization of fictional dark topics is normal and healthy, yet you guys are surprised that I think drawing things containing dark subjects, even if it's portrayed in a cutesy manner, doesn't mean you support those things in real life? Were y'all fake fans or what? This isn't even specifically talking about Vincent. This is talking about everyone who used to be a fan of me and isn't anymore because of my video on pro shipping. Little rant aside, yes, there was most likely some kind of correlation between real-life sexual predators and pro shippers, but it doesn't really mean much.
Okay, maybe they just worded that wrong.
The thing I said right after that fucking clip was, "Let me explain," and I proceed to explain what I mean by that. Watch the video you're covering, please.
I should keep watching them.
Lolicon, Shotacon, and shipping that has pedophilic implications does not turn people into pedophiles. People who already have these real-life desires may enjoy the same things in fiction for pretty fucking obvious reasons. The same reasons why someone who likes stabbing people to death in real life in his off time would enjoy watching slasher movies. Yeah.
Oh no.
Are you actually, I don't know, gonna debunk my argument? No? Oh, and trust me, before you say, "This is the intro," he doesn't do it later in the video either, so my point still stands.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Vincent, also known as Psycho Vincent on my main channel, and Mushroom Girl. Kinda sucks.
So true.
If you don't know who Mushroom Girl is, Mushroom Girl, also known as MG, is an art commentator and animator who's known for having not so great opinions. Recently they made a video titled "Why Pro Shippers Are Good Actually," a video essay commentary, and right off the bat I have issues with this title. Pro shipping is not okay no matter how you try to spin it.
Pro shipping is good. Nuh-uh. Yeah, trust me, this video will be full of nuh-uh arguments. It's kind of insane. Also, I want to get a few production-related points out of the way before we continue on. First of all, my video is insanely blurry and low quality compared to the original source and compared to your parts of the video. I don't know why this is, but it's very distracting. 2. The audio balancing is horrible in this video. You shouldn't even have any background music in the first place, considering your speech is already hard enough to understand, but the background music is also way too loud. My video is also much louder than your sections of the video, which means I have to constantly fluctuate the volume buttons unless I want to either go deaf from my own voice yelling in my ear or not be able to understand you at all.
I'll explain why as we get into the video.
You literally don't, though. You explain jack shit throughout this entire video.
But before that, trigger warning for the stuff on screen. Hey, artists, hello? Look up at the screen, it's important.
Speak louder, the artists can't hear you. Also, why is your snapping louder than your voice? I am so confused right now. I know I'm bringing up the voice stuff again and how the audio is barely understandable, but it's a massive problem throughout this video, and it's just, I can't stop poking fun at it because it's so bad. MG remaking a video essay? That's totally never happened before. This video is a remake of my proshipping video because that original video was not great. I don't stand by that video and the unintentional misinformation I spread in that video anymore.
If I'm being honest here, I think unintentionally spreading misinformation is better than intentionally telling people that normalizing pedophilic, incestuous, and abusive relationships through artwork is okay because it's just fictional dark content.
No. Normalizing showing dark themes in fiction is not as bad as spreading actual misinformation. Also, the misinformation I spread in my original video was that I use a false definition of proshipping, a definition that you use in this video, so you, my friend, are also spreading misinformation. Good fucking job. Also, I'm sure you guys are expecting an actually point regarding this part.
Intentionally telling people that normalizing pedophilic, incestuous, and abusive relationships through artwork is okay because it's just fictional dark content.
But no, that is unironically what I believe. We should be normalizing portraying those things in a fictional setting. But what if they're portraying it in a cutesy manner? I don't fucking care. As long as they are not showing it to children, putting proper warnings, and are not involving real people who do not want to be involved, I could not give less of a shit if someone wants to romanticize fictional incest or something. It does not matter in the grand scheme of things. I'm just gonna give a warning that if you're an anti-shipper who's letting out a sigh of relief right now at the fact that I have now disowned my last pro-shipping video because you thought I was defending or sugarcoating pro-shipping, don't celebrate so early, my friends.
Mushroom Girl proceeds to sugarcoat and defend pro-shipping in this video.
Yes, Vincent, that was the joke. That was the entire fucking point of the statement. The joke was that aunties may see that I remade my pro-shipping video where I talked about why I thought pro-shippers weren't pedophiles, and think that means that I think pro-shippers are pedophiles now, yet the actual video shows me defending pro-shipping more than I did in my original video. Also, you can't really sugarcoat something that isn't bad, and the point of my video is pointing out that pro-shipping isn't bad. Yes, I am definitely defending pro-shipping, but I'm not sugarcoating something that's already covered in sugar. You do know you can just cut out parts where you don't have anything to say, right? It's clearly too sped up to understand what I'm saying, so what's the deal with that? Just cut it out, add a quick skip card, and move on. From now on, I will be cutting out all the super duper sped up bits unless you can either actually hear what I'm saying, or I have something specific to say about it, because trust me, sometimes the choices of what they decide to just speed past is eyebrow raising, to say the least. A pro-shipper is a person who believes that all fictional ship pairings are valid regardless if they portray themes that are seen as taboo by the general public, and by fandom spaces such as abuse, rape, pedophilia, or incest. Pro-shippers do not necessarily need to enjoy this taboo content themselves. Some may even find it triggering or disgusting, but despite that, they believe that this content has the right to exist, and people who create that content should not be harassed or even face legal repercussions for what they create.
Yeah, that last part is complete bullshit. Pro-shippers do enjoy the stuff they create.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I put all the fucking effort into actually gathering evidence for the claims I make, only for people to make videos on it basically saying no, without actually giving alternative evidence that proves me wrong. I feel great.
Why else would you go to such great lengths to defend it if you find it disgusting?
Because, and hear me out here, Vincent, they disagree with your opinion on fiction. Insane, I know. Also, as a pro-fic myself, which, like I said later in this video, is essentially the same thing as pro-shipping, I don't enjoy content that makes pedophilic or incestuous fictional ship pairings look cute or sexy, but I acknowledge that that content has the right to exist. So, in the words of many pro-shippers, ship and let ship. That's why I defend its existence. I 100% agree with the general mindset that pro-shippers believe in. Fiction is fiction, and as long as it stays completely fictional, there's no harm being done by creating fictional works with taboo themes.
Yeah, but pro-shipping content does harm people whilst being fiction. I mean, there's literally a person in your comments saying that they got groomed because they were part of the pro-ship community. And since they saw this stuff as okay, they were seen as an easy target.
Ex-pro-shipper here. I got therapy and a reality check. And while you do make a few good points in your video, pro-shipping isn't good. Sure, it's cathartic, but I got a lot of death threats and was threatened to get doxxed. Plus, it didn't help that I got groomed again because a 20-year-old saw my videos and thought I was an easy target. Good times.
They weren't groomed because they were a pro-shipper, they were groomed because an adult decided to take advantage of them. How about we stop blaming fictional content for real grooming happening instead of blaming, well, the people grooming them? Sure, the fictional pro-ship content might have been a factor into why this groomer decided to groom this specific child, but that does not mean that the fiction is at fault. Also, keep this anecdote in the back of your head. It'll become really ironic later.
I think that's a good example of fiction staying fiction, yet still harming people.
The fiction only, quote-unquote, harmed them because a real-life adult decided to purposely take advantage of them. Yet the fiction is the problem here? That's what we're arguing being the issue here? Not the groomer? Not the predator? Also, I personally find the notion that it's the fault of the minor's fictional content preferences that they got groomed just a tad victim blamey. Like, you're not directly saying the minor was the issue here, but it's kind of implied, right? Like, even if you do also think that the groomer was in the wrong, I don't think the minor was in any way at fault, nor was the content they were consuming at fault for what happened. There was only one person who is at fault in this situation, and it was the person who groomed them. That is it. End of story. I think that the censorship of fictional works is harmful to artists and writers and is an insanely slippery slope to go down. I personally believe that anti-ship beliefs come from a personal disgust of certain content, and they think that just because it makes them uncomfortable and reminds them of real-life harmful and taboo subjects, it must be harmful in some way.
Yeah, I think anyone would be disgusted by pedophilic, incestuous, and abusive ships.
Okay, I'm saying that aunties are disgusted by ships with dark themes, and your response is, yeah. I even say later that them being uncomfortable with it isn't a problem and is completely valid. This statement is a nothing burger with a side of nothing fries.
That doesn't mean I agree with the bullshit anti-shippers get up to, but like, I get why they're mad.
Because of that disgust, they try and find evidence and logic for why these things are actually harmful, and they often don't do a very good job, which is exactly why a whole section of this video will be filled with counter-arguments that I will debunk. Something I want to tell aunties who are watching this is that just because something makes you feel uncomfortable or triggers you doesn't mean that you should fight to censor it. If you dislike something, you should have every right to not engage with that content and block the people creating it.
Oh look, there's the part where I say that anti-shippers having a disgust for certain content isn't the issue. For the people who can't understand it, here is the original clip from my video. Something I want to tell aunties who are watching this is that just because something makes you feel uncomfortable or triggers you doesn't mean that you should fight to censor it. If you dislike something, you should have every right to not engage with that content and block the people creating it.
But on the other hand, the people creating this content have every right to not only create that media but post it publicly, given it's allowed
On the places they're posting it. Nice changing the speed in the middle of that sentence there. Yes, it's a nitpick, but I don't care. This is a commentary video. I'm gonna point out the things wrong with the video, even if they're small. Feelings are often not entirely logical, which is why people such as pro-shippers put aside their disgust of certain topics to think logically about the topic at hand. That doesn't make these feelings invalid, but basing your whole idea of fiction on these feelings without properly thinking through them is a bad idea. Anti-shippers have created sort of a straw man of pro-ship beliefs in order to make their arguments sound more understandable. The definition has been heavily rewritten by antis to basically mean people who fetishize pedophilia and incest. I think you all can understand why this rewrite would be dangerous to the lives of pro-shippers. I don't think I need to spell it out for you. The definition has slowly turned from freedom of expression to basically a pedophile with extra steps.
This reminds me a lot of what Republicans do. They spread misinformation and say the most bigoted things imaginable, and when they get banned or when people just don't want to listen to them, they cry First Amendment.
And how the fuck does that correlate with me saying that anti-shippers strawman pro-ship beliefs to paint them as gross people? What the fuck are you talking about? Also, don't you talk about how I'm in the wrong for defending bi lesbians near the end of your video? I don't think you should be talking about bigotry considering you have some biases against certain groups of people yourself.
Freedom of expression does not mean freedom of consequence. You have every right to come up to me and call me the N-word, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna stop you for it.
That's called assault, and you can get arrested for that. So this is a horrible example. Also, calling someone the N-word is actually harmful. What are pro-shippers supposed to get consequences for? Shipping icky things?
Pro-shippers have the right to drop pedophilic and incestuous relationships, but that doesn't mean they're not gonna get called out for it.
And how is that relevant to my point? At all? Since anti-shippers usually believe that liking a problematic pairing in media, especially for some kind of sexual purpose, means that you would also find it attractive in real life as well.
I mean, yeah, if somebody is seeking out incestuous relationships in media for sexual reasons, I don't think it would be unreasonable to assume that they might be into that.
You can assume all you want, but it depends on every individual person. Pro-shippers who ship incestuous pairings in fiction don't automatically think incest is okay in real life. They are literally rewriting the definition to make it as easy to call pro-shippers pedophilic, abusive, family fucking rapists as possible.
Antis aren't changing the definition.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I wouldn't have to reuse video clips if you didn't reuse the idea of not showing evidence for anything you say in this video. For every claim you make that you show no evidence for, 3 brain cells die, and I don't even know if it's mine or yours.
They're arguing that fiction does in fact infect reality.
Most pro-shippers don't believe that fiction doesn't affect reality. I literally said this in my video. I don't know how you missed it.
And normalizing these problematic relationships are harmful.
Do you have any evidence to prove that? No? Cool. What the fuck was I expecting? Also, if anybody who's watching follows my Twitter, you probably saw this tweet, and yeah, I think you guys know what video this tweet was referring to now. Many anti-shippers also make such lovely arguments about pro-shipping and the harm it does, so let's discuss some of those now.
If young impressionable children see content that's romanticizing pedophilia, incest, and abuse, they might think those behaviors are okay in real life.
I agree with this statement at face value, though there's one simple solution to this. Don't let this content get into the hands of people who are too young to properly differentiate fiction from reality.
Mushroom Girl says, completely forgetting that the majority of pro-shippers are children.
My source is that I made it the fuck up. Unless that content is being deliberately shown to children or posted on websites made for kids, it's not pro-shippers' fault if children find that content. These works should have mature content warnings on them, and if they don't, then that's the individual creator's fault, not the fault of the pro-ship community or mindset as a whole.
So I went on Instagram and searched hashtag pro-ship, and oh look at that, no trigger warning. Oh look at that, no trigger warning. Oh look at that, no trigger warning and sexualizing a child.
Okay. You found 3 pro-shippers that didn't put trigger warnings on their content. Congrats? Do you want a cookie or something? How does this disprove my point? It's funny that whenever Vincent actually does show evidence of their claims, it just doesn't prove anything and is completely irrelevant. Also, some of the content often discussed in these discussions is pornographic and probably shouldn't be in the hands of young children anyway, whether it features incest, abuse, and pedophilia or not. And yes, a few little kids with unrestricted access to the internet could gain access to this content no matter how well you hide it from them, but at that point they're probably seeking it out, and that's not really the pro-shipper's fault. And fuck, by this logic, anything not kid-friendly isn't allowed on the internet. Fictional violence, fictional gore, pornography in general, not even just the stuff you personally find gross or immoral.
People aren't upset because pro-ship content isn't kid-friendly.
Well, considering my counter-argument is a real argument I've seen antis make, yes, some people are upset that pro-ship content isn't kid-friendly. Just because you personally don't think that's an issue doesn't mean that there aren't a large majority of antis who have argued that.
I mean, I'm sure some people are, but Karens are gonna Karen no matter what the content is.
That's a pretty good description of anti-shippers as a whole, honestly.
No, the issue with pro-shipping is that this content is normalizing and romanticizing pedophilic, incestuous, and abusive relationships.
Real-life pedophilic, incestuous, and abusive relationships? You can't just keep repeating that sentence word for word like you have been doing. You need to actually explain yourself. All you've been doing, besides making stupid claims with no evidence, is literally just repeating, well, it's romanticizing problematic things over and over and over again with no explanation. This video fucking sucks.
And I know you said that pro-shippers aren't at fault if a child finds their content even if they try to hide it from kids. But a lot of pro-shippers just don't do that.
And I acknowledge that in my video and criticize them for doing so. Your point?
I mean, a lot of pro-shippers, majority of them just straight up don't care.
My source is that I made. Okay, you guys get the point. No evidence to this claim. As expected.
And because they don't care, it opens up a lot of people who don't know any better. These people are most often young kids, but it doesn't have to be. To see this and believe that these problematic relationships are okay and normal, opens them up to be taken advantage of, or in some rare situations, take advantage of someone else.
Evidence. I want it. Also, don't think I didn't notice that you slipped take advantage of someone else in there. Yeah, you are directly blaming fictional content for abusers existing. I don't care if you said rarely. That doesn't change the fact that you are making this very, very serious claim that takes the agency off of abusers to not abuse people with absolutely no evidence. If you had evidence that actually proved this, then that would be one thing. The fact that you have no evidence for this is just gross. This is a serious claim that you can't just make willy-nilly because it suits your argument.
Also, another thing, a lot of pro-ship content is made for media made for or has a large child audience. I'm not saying you can't make not kid-friendly content of characters from kids' media.
That's exactly what you're saying, because this logic would apply to any content not suitable for kids, not just pro-ship content.
Granted, if said character is of age, I'm looking specifically at you.
Cool, I have no idea who that is, so this attempt of a joke does not land in the slightest.
But you do have to be aware that kids who like that media, specifically made for them, are going to seek out content of that media.
Which is why content warnings exist.
This itself isn't an issue, but considering how predatory the pro-ship community is,
Citation fucking needed, dude.
I can't help but feel like that may be intentional. Just maybe a little bit, probably.
Fictional pedophilic content causes people to have those desires in real life and makes people commit those crimes in real life.
This is a common argument made by aunties, and while to some it may seem sound at first, there has been, at least to my knowledge, no studies that properly confirm this claim to be true. Yes, there was most likely some kind of correlation between real-life sexual predators and pro-shippers, but it doesn't really mean much.
What do you mean that doesn't mean much?
It's almost like I literally fucking explained what I meant by that statement right after I said it. You idiot.
So you acknowledge that there is a correlation between people who are okay with pedophilic relationships
In fiction.
and pedophiles.
I mean, yeah, but correlation doesn't equal causation though. Just because two things happen with each other doesn't mean one caused the other. An example that explains this perfectly is the noticeable correlation between ice cream sales and shark attacks. Because ice cream is sold more often when more shark attacks happen, does that mean that one caused the other? Fuck no. The actual likely explanation is that both ice cream consumption and swimming happen during the summer, meaning the season is the cause of both. Do you get my point?
In a community full of children.
Citation fucking needed.
And that doesn't mean much?
Are you allergic to letting me fucking explain, bitch? Damn. Also, yes, it doesn't mean much. Like I just said, the correlation between two things does not have to mean a lot. Just because there's a correlation doesn't mean that it's a causation. Let me explain. Finally, lolicon, shotacon, and shipping that has pedophilic implications does not turn people into pedophiles. People who already have these real-life desires may enjoy the same things in fiction for pretty fucking obvious reasons. The same reasons why someone who likes stabbing people to death in real life in his off time would enjoy watching slasher movies.
Did you just compare liking loli to liking slasher films?
Yes. Next question.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I don't think so.
It's true that loli doesn't turn you into a pedophile. Because if you like loli or shota, you're already a pedophile. There's no getting around that.
I hope someday doctors will find a cure for your allergy to showing some fucking evidence. Oh my god. Also, did you not just say that most pro shippers are children? Children under 16 can't be considered pedophiles, you moron.
But that doesn't mean if you like slashers, you're a murderer.
Then your logic is contradictory. And that's assuming that you actually meant homicidal ideation and not actual murder. I'm gonna give you some leeway on that one because I am tired.
It's like, why would you even think those two things are remotely similar?
Because they both portray fictional topics that would be harmful and illegal to repeat in real life. You're supposed to actually think while watching commentary videos?
Lolling has to do with the sexualization of children.
Fictional children, yes.
And slashers are just guy kills people and then dies at the end, but he's not really dead because we like money.
Yeah, so why does enjoying looking at fictional children in sexual situations make you a pedophile by default, but enjoying watching a fictional murder not make you homicidal by default? You're missing the point so bad that you're proving it. Out of all the ways you could have attempted to debunk this point from, you chose the route of not even really trying to debunk it, just kind of saying, yikes man, that's crazy, those things are super different, and then that's essentially it.
Like, those are not even the same, like, at all.
I never said they were the same, simply that they were comparable in the way that I specifically compared them.
Those cannot be compared.
Why can't they be compared? Can you explain something for once in your life? Yet that does not mean that everyone who enjoys the slasher genre wants to hurt people in real life, or that the genre shouldn't exist. Hell, people have already committed crimes based on violent works of fiction, and I don't see any antis claiming that these works shouldn't exist.
They aren't claiming slashers shouldn't exist because it's not normalizing homicide.
Why not? What makes it different from pro-ship content? Can you please explain something? The first example that always pops up in my head when I think about this discourse is the Slender Man stabbing, a case where two 12-year-old girls attempt to murder their friend as a sacrifice to Slender Man. The fictional work did have something to do with this crime, it's quite clear, but I don't see anyone blaming the fictional character or the people who wrote it for the atrocity.
That's because that was an isolated incident.
Isolated incident, you say? Well, funnily enough, in my video, I show 2 more examples of situations like this in the video. But do you care? Clearly not, because you sped right through it like the dishonest person you're clearly portraying yourself as. But, speaking of isolated incidents, what was that evidence you showed of your claim that pro-shipping can cause children to be groomed? One anecdote of someone saying, yeah, this happened to me once. You know, folks, that's what I'd like to call an isolated incident.
Those 2 girls were obviously mentally unwell and were needed serious help.
You're using this as an excuse for violent fiction to exist, despite the fact that you could also easily use this logic towards content that has fictional pedophilia in it, considering pedophilia is a mental disorder, meaning that pedophiles also fall under the umbrella of being mentally unwell. So why does this fictional pedophilic content not also get a pass that you're giving this fictional violent content to? This is a double standard.
It's not common for people to try to kill somebody because of a fictional piece of horror media they saw. It is common for young kids in the pro-ship community to be groomed by pedophiles because they already see these predatory relationships as normal and thus are an easy target.
Citation fucking needed. What the fuck else was I expecting though? Oh look, that's them skipping over the 2 other examples I gave in my video. Classy. The point I'm trying to make here is that anti-shippers usually only throw a fit about dark media when it's sexual or romantic, which is a really weird specificity to have, but it's most likely based on moronic anti-kink and anti-porn beliefs. But it makes them look really silly when you see anti-shippers eating up dark, morally questionable, and violent content, but throwing a fit on the ground like a toddler when they see someone enjoying similarly dark, morally questionable, and violent content because it's just a tad horny.
Mushroomish girl. Pro-ship content isn't just dark content.
That's quite literally what it is though. It's completely fictional and it contains dark subjects. It is literally just dark fictional content. And you saying that it's inherently different when the only real difference is its association with romance and sex kinda proves my point that a lot of antis have ingrained anti-kink beliefs.
It normalizes problematic and predatory relationships.
And by that logic, slasher movies normalize murder and violence. Please either say something smart or stop talking. All you're really doing is proving my point.
There's a difference between someone enjoying Happy Tree Friends and someone making art shipping Inez with the hacker. Happy Tree Friends is a show that's violent for the sake of being violent, and Inez is 9 years old, and the hacker is an adult.
So, Happy Tree Friends can be dark for the sake of being dark, but a pedophilic fictional ship can't be? Thanks for further, again, proving my point that anti-shippers are insanely contradictory.
Not to mention he's known to be verbally abusive and manipulative.
So, enemies to lovers just can't be a thing anymore? Characters who are verbally abusive and manipulative can't be shipped with other characters now? You must be fun at parties, man.
In the early seasons, they kinda nerfed him. In the later stuff, just made him like a raging narcissist and a bumbling idiot, but still, you get my point.
Oh look, this next counter-argument is a rebuttal to what I just said. Let's hear it.
Rape is inherently worse than murder, which is why you can portray one in a fictional setting and not the other.
Who said that?
Who said this, you ask? Well, for starters, I'm friends with an ex-auntie. They asked to remain anonymous, so I will respect that, but I recall them making this exact argument. So, I asked them, here you go, since you clearly love using anecdotes for evidence, I don't think you would mind that much if I used an anecdote. Oh, but maybe you're gonna be hypocritical and say that this isn't enough evidence. Well, that's okay, I get it. I also think it's not enough evidence. That's why I have more. Enjoy this wonderful montage. The full context to this first one was deleted, but it seems to have been about CSA being portrayed in anime. This one's about Hazbin Hotel. I think you'd know a lot about this one since you've been playing Hazbin Hotel songs throughout this entire video. According to this fellow, you can kidnap children, you can rob people for shits and giggles, you can break into people's houses and kill them, but this person draws the line at sexual assault. Also, the thing about murder sometimes being justifiable or in self-defense isn't true. Murder is unjustifiable and premeditated by its very definition. I talk about this in the video you're currently covering, so I'm going to assume you don't have the memory of a goldfish and you actually paid attention to that part, and I'm gonna assume you know what I'm talking about. If anybody wants to see all the evidence for that and where I explain it in detail, you can just go to that video. Oh look, here's another example. Enjoy! On Twitter, this discussion is a whole fucking discourse, so I'm sure you could find many more examples of this argument being used, but I think I've proved my point. So not only did I one-up your measly anecdote, I four-upped it. And you think you're the one with the facts and the logic in this situation? Are you fucking kidding me?
No. I want to know who the hell is actually arguing that rape is worse than murder.
See my last interjection.
I know the anti-community is known for being a bunch of toxic dumbasses, but
I'm just gonna stop you right there because I think it's really, really funny how you're trying to distance yourself from antis, yet you're not much better. The only difference is that you're being like, oh, well, I don't like harassment. I can call people pedophiles over fiction, but I'm not gonna harass them over it. You're literally the I'm not like other girls of antis.
I highly doubt that is an actual argument actual people are making. Raping somebody and killing somebody are both equally disgusting and evil crimes.
Then why can you enjoy one in media and not the other, you moron? Why is it okay to portray cutesy violence like in Happy Tree Friends, but it's not okay to portray cutesy pedophilia or incest? This doesn't make sense.
Anyone with a fucking object permanence can understand that.
I don't think you know what the term object permanence means.
I don't even think Kevin Leonardo would say that, and he's known for saying outrageous stuff for views and attention online.
Lolicon is illegal, so it must be morally wrong.
Are we really going to argue that the legality of certain actions dictates the morality of them? Really? Is that really where we're going here? First of all, what laws are we talking about here?
This one.
Congratulations, Vincent, you just completely missed the point. What about people who live in areas where lolicon isn't illegal? Why should they have to follow US laws? You are literally doing the thing that I criticize later in this section of the video. You are centering the US in a discussion that is supposed to be universal.
Each country has its own laws that differ from each other, and I am very sure that you could find somewhere in the world that does not have any kind of law against lolicon. Saying that legality equals morality makes no sense because laws from different places contradict each other.
Yeah, I get that. But loli is illegal for a fucking reason, bro.
Okay. The point is that it's not illegal everywhere, meaning that saying that something is immoral because it's illegal doesn't make sense because, like I just said, laws from different places contradict each other. You are still missing the point. The main issue of you covering this section of the video is that you don't even understand the counter argument that I am trying to debunk, and therefore you cannot properly debunk what I'm saying because you don't know what I'm saying it about or what I'm applying it to, which is really weird because I literally read out the counter argument at the beginning of the segment, so I don't understand why you aren't getting this. I don't get what's not clear about the counter argument and why you are misunderstanding it so badly. You can think lolicon is illegal for a reason all you want, but that doesn't even come close to debunking the argument I'm trying to make.
It's child porn.
You just basically said it's illegal because it's illegal. Amazing explanation. Something wouldn't be considered child porn unless the law considered it child porn, meaning that is essentially what you just said.
I'm not saying that all laws are morally right, but I think this one is.
Then why are you trying to defend the fact that morality equals legality? Again, I think you fundamentally misunderstood what I'm arguing against. You can think that lolicon should be illegal all you want, but that does not disprove or even come close to addressing the point I'm making.
Oh, you mean US laws. Now I'm getting it. You're all chronically American. I'm fucking sorry, but I didn't know the Earth was just one giant United States. Basing universal morality off of US laws has the implication that the US is somehow like the pinnacle of morality or something.
Literally no one said that.
Exactly. That's why I said it was implied. Do you know what implied means?
Anyone who's not an old white boomer is aware of how terrible the US is.
Anyone of any age or race can be xenophobic, you moron.
Because why the hell else would we specifically be using US laws? If it's that aunties generally believe that the US is more moral than other countries, and that's why they find US laws in particular so important. Buddy, have you taken a US history class? There are a lot of things that are immoral that are not illegal in the US, and there's a lot of things that used to be legal in the US that are very much not moral. Can we stop basing what are supposed to be universal moral ideals on one set of laws and one set of laws alone? It comes off as really xenophobic.
Apparently implying that the US is more moral than other places in the world does not come off as xenophobic to Vincent.
By the way, the argument I'm making applies to any country, not just the US. If you're using fucking French laws, you still have the same issues as if you were using US laws or Canadian laws or like Japanese laws or Korean laws.
What was the point of showing those laws? I never said that there were only lolicon laws in the US. I said that even if you use other countries' laws as your argument, you still cannot argue that lolicon is immoral just because it's illegal. Let's actually point out some of the interesting things about these wonderful little useless screenshots you provided. In the screenshot about French laws, it says that it's only considered CP if the child being represented is 15 years old or younger, meaning that unlike US laws, anything 16 plus is fair game. So what is it, Vincent? Is the age minimum for drawing porn of fictional characters 18 or is it 16? The screenshot about Canadian laws says nothing about drawing, since, like it fucking should be, the term CP is usually used to represent real sexual content of real children. You know, the shit that actually exploits children. This proves jack shit. The Japanese one also says nothing about drawings, and according to the South Korean law, if you draw a young-looking adult in sexual situations, it's CP. So, for this law, there's no age range. It's all based on looks, I guess. Which fucking law are we using? Pick one or shut up. These are all different. All you are doing right now is proving me right that you cannot use the law to base morality off of, because laws are different in different places. You literally proved me right using your evidence. This entire section of the video of you debunking the shit regarding the legality and morality of lolicon has been literally nothing but you missing the point over and over and over again, which is really making me wonder if you even put any effort into understanding the points I was making in the first place, or if you heard me saying a thing you didn't like, decided not to pay any more attention, and then make a video on it. Because clearly, there was some shit in your head that did not click.
Are so many different countries you could use the laws of, and it would still not work, because legality does not equal morality no matter where you are in the world. Oh, and I just want to mention this really quick, because I don't want people to misconstrue my argument, because once somebody did, and it turned into a screaming match, and when I say a screaming match, I mean a one-sided screaming match, because that's always fun, and I don't like getting screamed at in calls. So, for future reference, when I say that something being illegal does not automatically mean it's immoral, that is not me saying that everything that is illegal is moral. Yeah, I don't think it's okay to murder people. Crazy thing, I know. It might be really surprising to hear this, but I don't actually think murder is a great thing to do. I'm not gonna name drop this person because the call was private, but it is somebody that many of you may know. But yeah, I don't know how this specific person misconstrued my argument to be that, but I hope you have better comprehension skills today. I hope so. I hope they got better. Get well soon. Oh yeah, I have another thing I want to address from this specific counter-argument. Lolicon being illegal is debatable.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. I literally show evidence that proves it.
Also, even if it wasn't illegal, it doesn't make it okay.
Okay? That's not what I'm arguing though. That's not the counter-argument I'm talking about in this section of the video.
Here's the thing. If you want to make arguments about why lolicon is immoral, that's fine. I believe that there is an important discussion to be had there.
Oh, I see how it is. So, you'll leave in the entire clip of me talking about how I got yelled at in a call, despite the fact that that is not in any way relevant to anything you have said or were going to say. But you'll cut out conveniently the bit where I show evidence of the claim that I just made. And that evidence, by the way, was an actual lawyer talking about how lolicon being illegal was debatable. So, of course, when you see that I have actual evidence to back up the fact that lolicon might actually not be as illegal as you think it is, you have to play my clip of me making the claim, deny it, and then cut out all the evidence I show so it looks like I'm making a claim without any evidence. Classy. Since you want to be dishonest, here's that full clip from my video. Enjoy.
Is lolicon illegal in the USA? Does it count as child pornography?
I moved this from child custody to criminal defense, as you're asking about whether a given genre of media, lolicon, or Lolita complex, counts as child pornography. The answer is an unsatisfying it depends. If you're talking about anime or manga, purely cartoon style, it's probably not going to count as child pornography. If it's purely words on a page written material, also generally not. If photographs of underage girls are involved, then it very likely could be construed as child pornography. Under federal and Oklahoma law, 18 is the minimum age to consent to explicit photography. All of that said, since this originated in child custody, if a person has a collection of such materials, think in terms of a collection of video or magazines, not a copy of Nabokov on the bookshelf, it can potentially have an adverse effect on a custody dispute, as it speaks to potentially dangerous or damaging conditions for the child in question.
Lolicon being illegal is quite debatable and, like John Christiansen here says, entirely dependent on the situation. Just owning a lolly manga or something most likely won't get you thrown in the slammer. I'm sorry, Vincent, but I'm not going to let dishonesty like this slide.
But if your only argument against the morality of lolicon is it's wrong because it's illegal, then maybe you need to rethink your opinion on the matter because you clearly don't have enough to actually argue against it.
People aren't saying it's wrong because it's illegal.
I just want to say this to you as slowly and as bluntly as possible. If you do not agree that lolicon is immoral simply because it is illegal and nothing else, you are in agreement with me. So, if you are in agreement with me, why have you been spending this entire section of this video arguing against my premise and for the premise of the counter-argument? You disagree with the counter-argument so much that you believe that there is not even anyone in the world who agrees with the counter-argument, or that no auntie has ever argued that. So why have you been arguing for that counter-argument? You make no sense. Seriously, this entire video is a fucking mess of you not understanding the words I am saying. So I'm hoping if I speak in this condescending tone, maybe you will finally process the words I am saying to you.
People are saying it's wrong because it depicts children in sexual situations.
Good thing that's not the counter-argument I was debunking, therefore bringing that up would be weird, because I'm not debunking that counter-argument. Do you not know what a counter-argument is? I wasn't just yapping, I was addressing a specific argument.
The thing is, my opinions on lolicons are not positive, but at the end of the day, if they're not being creepy towards real children, I could give less of a fuck. I'm just gonna ignore their existence because it's not my business.
Congratulations, you just said the stupidest shit I have heard all day. Like the fact that you put those words together in a sentence and thought that shit was okay, crazy.
Are you actually going to argue the point I made? No? Then please, for the love of God, shut up.
First of all, fiction does affect reality.
I 100% agree with the general mindset that pro-shippers believe in. Those two statements are not contradictory because, like I state later in this video, most pro-shippers agree that fiction affects reality. Fiction is fiction, and as long as it stays completely fictional, there's no harm being done by creating fictional works with taboo themes. Another statement that doesn't contradict my point. Are you going to explain why this is contradictory? No? You're not very good at this whole responding to arguments thing, are you?
It's okay if you portray dark themes in media as long as you don't romanticize or sexualize them. This argument often comes from a good place, and it seems sound and justified at a first glance. But I have a few issues with this argument, so many issues in fact, that I made a whole video on this specific argument. If you want my full opinion where I go into depth about the discussion of the morality of romanticization, watch that video, link in the description. For the lazy people though, do not worry, I will summarize. Romanticization isn't inherently inherently harmful, at least in my personal opinion based on my interpretation of the definition.
Romanticize. Deal with.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna stop you right there because, I know this definition. Quite well, in fact. To the point where I literally dissected it in my full video on romanticization. You know, the one I talk about in that other clip. I have a few issues with this argument, so many issues in fact, that I made a whole video on this specific argument. If you want my full opinion where I go into depth about the discussion of the morality of romanticization, watch that video, link in the description. How about you actually listen to what I have to say before cutting in with what is essentially a nothing burger? And I give a summary of that video in the video you are currently covering, so I don't know why you had to cut in early and give this definition when it's clear that I know this definition well enough to pick it apart.
Romanticization itself isn't an issue, but depending on what you're romanticizing, it can be. Romanticizing problematic, abusive, and predatory relationships are harmful.
But we romanticize shit all the time. There's a reason why a lot of people would be fine with watching Happy Tree Friends, but not be fine with watching a horror movie. One shows cutesy animals being harmed with unrealistic gore, while the other is gore that's supposed to look as realistic and gross as possible. It's also why you can watch a show where we see depictions of a character getting sexually assaulted. I'm talking about Has Been Hotel, by the way, for the people who don't know much about it. But that same thing in a live-action film could make you feel much more disgusted. The romanticization of problematic, abusive, and predatory relationships in fiction is necessary for a lot of art to exist.
Because by making those things seem appealing, you open the door for someone to see it and try to seek out these relationships because they see it as something to be desired.
Not necessarily. Making those things more appealing to look at is what makes people able to enjoy media with those themes in it and get those important messages about how those things affect people.
My favorite example of the sexualization of dark themes to bring up in this discussion is probably Salad Fingers.
Salad Fingers doesn't sexualize dark themes.
Yes it does. Salad Fingers is shown doing acts that he clearly sees as sexually gratifying, and a lot of that involves harming himself. That is quite literally, by its very definition, the sexualization of self-harm. It doesn't have to be sexual to the creator or even to the audience for it to be sexualization. It just has to be portrayed in a sexual manner. That is all sexualization means.
Salad Fingers is meant to be disturbing.
Something can be intended to be disturbing and be sexual at the same time. Those are not contradictory statements.
To sexualize means to make something seem sexually appealing.
You skipped over that first sentence. To see someone or something in sexual terms. The creator of Salad Fingers is portraying self-harm in sexual terms in this series. It doesn't have to be arousing to the audience or even to the creator, it just has to be portrayed in a sexual manner, which is how it was being portrayed. It can still be disturbing, but it's still being portrayed as sexual.
Mushroom mentioned Salad Fingers being a necrozoophile, but based on what I know about Salad Fingers, I don't think that was meant to be a sexualization of that.
Alright, to be completely honest, I did make a mistake by bringing up the necrozoophile thing because it doesn't exactly prove my point. Because when I actually went back recently to rewatch that episode, there was nothing really that sexual in it. There was some implications, but that's really it. Most of it is just like this fake romance stuff going on. So, was that the best example to prove my point? No, but the self-harm shit absolutely still stands because that is absolutely shown as sexual and in sexual terms in the series.
Salad Fingers is portrayed as mentally unstable and borderline delusional.
Okay, you can still sexualize something while portraying the character with said sexual interest as mentally unstable. I genuinely don't think you are fully understanding what sexualization actually is. Yes, it can be making something sexually appealing. That is absolutely one of the definitions, and it was in the definition you showed, but what was also in the definition you showed was the first sentence, which said to make something or someone in sexual terms, which essentially, from my understanding, basically just means to portray something in a sexual way, which is an extremely broad definition and can be applied to a ton of things that you would not consider sexualization based on your specific misunderstanding of it.
At least that's what I know from film theory.
So you were trying to debate with me about the themes and the portrayal of the themes of Salad Fingers, yet you haven't even watched Salad Fingers? Yeah, I do not give a shit about anything you have to say about that series anymore because you clearly don't know anything about it, and you're just assuming based off of fucking film theory. Are you kidding me?
If they were sexualizing dark themes, I think they would try to make it look more appealing?
What people find appealing is subjective. If we're talking about appealing in a general sense and not specifically sexually appealing, clearly David Firth, the creator of Salad Fingers, finds this animation style at least somewhat appealing because this is the kind of art he dedicates his life to. What's appealing is subjective. Yeah, Salad Fingers isn't conventionally appealing, but he's clearly appealing to a lot of people considering this series has such a big fan base. I was in that fan base. I still, to this day, consider Salad Fingers an extremely amazing series that had a lot of talent behind it, and the art style is very intriguing. I find this series appealing. Just because the series isn't appealing to you doesn't mean it's not appealing in general.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go off script for a little bit. The fact that you looked at Salad Fingers and thought they were sexualizing dark themes is honestly concerning.
I don't care if you think my interpretation of the series is concerning because you haven't even watched the series, therefore you have nothing to base my interpretation off of other than a fucking MatPat theory. I don't care.
Like, I think you're confusing sexualization with, like, portraying those themes at all.
I direct you to episode 3 and tell you to shut the fuck up because holy shit, that episode was too much even for me.
A series that clearly portrays its main character being a sexual masochist, and even in later episodes, a necrozoophile. This is, by definition, the sexualization of self-harm, among other things. But of course...
No, it doesn't? Where the hell did you get that from?
The series. That series that you haven't watched.
Oh my god, it's finally over. Thank God. Scripting and recording this video gave me a massive headache. I'm so tired. Everything hurts. Moral of the story. Proshippers are bad and should not be supported.
You have done nothing to properly prove or explain that. Congrats, this video was useless.
Aunties also suck.
Guys, I'm not like other aunties. I only passively call them pedophiles, not aggressively.
And Lily is not the same as before.
I have no idea what you just said there.
And if you have to make a straw man to support your argument, then you should reevaluate your art.
I agree. I also think that if you have to cut out the opponent's evidence to make your argument seem more sound, then it's not actually sound.
And, listen girl, if you're watching this, I genuinely don't think you're a bad person, but I don't think I can support you after this video.
Cool. Don't care. This does not affect me in any way. You wouldn't even appreciate my toxic yaoi aliens anyway, so you can go.
Besides what you have to say on bi lesbians,
the progressive flavor of bigotry is my favorite.
I genuinely thought that what you had to say was informative, but after this, I see that is no longer the case.
Everything you say is informative unless it disagrees with me. In that case, it's not informative anymore.
I strongly suggest that you take down this video.
No thanks.
Or at least reconsider your opinions.
I actually used my brain when I made my video on proshipping, so you know, I think I've thought enough about it, and I think I'm gonna stick with my opinions.
Not only are you promoting the idea that romanticizing and normalizing pedophilic, abusive, and incestuous relationships
in fiction
to your audience is okay, but you compared Lowly to slashers.
Yes, that is in fact a thing I did. You still haven't explained why that's a bad thing, or what was wrong with that comparison, other than the vague notion of, they're so different.
And you made up a straw man to support your argument.
No, I didn't. You're just stupid.
I know you're probably not going to listen to anything I'm going to say, considering you have a history of taking criticism and wiping your ass with it.
Only when it's shitty criticism, like this video, for example.
But I at least hope you take my words into consideration. And I really hope that one day you grow up and realize that this mindset is not okay.
Vincent, I did grow up. I grew up from the mindset that fiction always has to be things that I personally think are good or okay. If you aren't growing with me, that's a you problem. So, what are my final thoughts? Well, to start, your production quality made this video extremely tedious to watch. Your quiet, mumbly voice made it hard to understand what you were saying, and it became even worse near the end. You can't even call this a nitpick because it genuinely made it difficult to understand you, and if your audience can't understand you, then what's the point of making a commentary in the first place? Second of all, and most importantly, your points either come down to nuh-uh, claims with no evidence, speeding over, or even straight up cutting out context from my video and basically saying, yikes MG, with no explanation. And of course, there's just you saying pro ship bad over and over and over again with no explanation. This video fucking sucked. Like, a lot. I know I was very blunt in this video and even a little mean in certain cases, but that's kind of what you have to expect when making a video on me that is this bad. Like, it is so bad. Well, now that that's over, see you in the next video, I guess. I have another video planned that will probably come out very soon, so goodbye.